All right. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for making our time to join in. So, because of time, we'll get started while others join in. So, I hope we're all having a great weekend. And for this evening, as most of us would have seen already, we're having a session with Nadia and Shola Komi and myself on AI capabilities in cybersecurity. So, let me just briefly share the idea or motive behind this event because um, I believe many of us might have seen that as regards tech events, most times it's always about software engineering, maybe data related topics now, data science, machine learning, and the likes of it. But fields like cybersecurity, product management, design. Well, design is getting a lot of credibility now, but fields like cybersecurity, product management are not really getting the I would say the publicity they should get, right? Because there are so many tech fields to go into, and cybersecurity is a big hot field to be in. So if you are new in cybersecurity, or you are thinking of learning a new stack, or you are just starting out in tech, then this event is perfect for you, right? Nadia will be walking us through her experience as a cybersecurity researcher at eBay and giving us a talk on AI capabilities in cybersecurity. So if you're a machine learning engineer, a data scientist, or someone who just loves leveraging AI, you should find this very interesting too. And then finally, she'll talk us on more general things around cybersecurity. Shola Kumi will be handling that. So, but just a brief introduction for those that might not be familiar with MLSA Unilag. So, MLSA basically means Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors, right? And the University of Lagos chapter, we hold monthly events like monthly spotlights for different tracks. So in March, we've decided to spotlight cybersecurity, and then this event is in fulfillment of that. And that's why we have Nadia here with us, and we appreciate her for honoring our invite. Thank you very much. So I think you can go ahead now, and then once you are done with that, Shola Kumi will handle every other thing.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Great. Thank you so much for introduction, and hello everyone. Thank you for joining today. So my name is Nadia. I'm from eBay Cybersecurity team, and today I'll talk about AI and machine learning capabilities in cybersecurity. And it's actually a very big topic, and we have less than an hour. So it will be a very high level overview to give you some sense of it and maybe get some new ideas. And also, as cybersecurity is also a very broad industry with different roads. You can be network security engineer, information security, ethical hacking, or but AI currently is everywhere and relevant to all of them. So I hope it will be useful to you, even, no matter which path are you going to choose in cybersecurity. I'm currently leading of platform cybercrime brand protection research at TBIE with key focus on machine learning and introduction of AI capabilities to enhance our customer protection solutions. Previously, I was working in Kaspersky. It's a big antivirus company from Russia. And for 6 years, I was leading phishing research, anti-phishing research. And also I worked in Yandex. It's kind of like Russian Google. And I was leading anti-fraud analysis in payment systems. And I also recently obtained MS in data science with distinction from Queen's University Belfast. So it helped me to introduce more ML knowledge into cybersecurity team I'm working in. So a little bit of what we're going to talk about. We start with an overview. What is machine learning? some core ideas behind it, an example of simple but popular algorithm. I know that some of you already familiar with machine learning, so for you it will be already known information, but for those who are new to this, I hope it will be helpful. Then I'll show you how we use it to fight against phishing and share some other popular use cases of machine learning in cybersecurity. And then I will touch on deep learning and generative AI topics, and I will show you how cybercriminals are using it against us. And we will have some time for questions after that. So first, what is machine learning? We are all heard about it and about this term and a lot of definitions. I chose this one. It's a capability of a computer system to mimic human cognitive functions such as learning and problem solving. ML is part of AI. Algorithms are designed to learn from data, identify patterns, and make predictions or decisions without being explicitly programmed. And finally, deep learning, it's a subset of machine learning that is inspired by how human brains work. And deep learning is used to complete complex tasks and train models using unstructured data. So what are core types of machine learning? First, it's supervised learning. In supervised learning, we are given the data sets and already know what our correct output should look like. And supervised learning problems are split into classification and regression. And in classification, output is predicted in discrete values, malicious or not malicious, type of object. And I came up with examples like it can be used for malware, phishing detection, spam filtering, image classification, fraud detection. In regression, we try to predict results within a continuous output. So classical example, predict house pricing. And for cybersecurity, for example, predict loss forecasting. Then we have unsupervised learning algorithms. They are used to identify patterns in data without predefined categories. For example, clustering, when we group in unlabeled examples for their similarity. For example, customer segmentation, incoming stream analysis, anomaly detection, or also unsupervised learning is popular for dimensional reduction, for meaningful compression of data and structure discovery. Also, we have machine learning type which called reinforcement learning algorithms. They're used to train machines to make decisions based on rewards and punishments, and more advanced than previous two, and they're used for recommendation system, adaptive malware detection. So overall, machine learning process is very iterative, where first step is clearly identify the problem. The next step is to gather relevant data, and data is really crucial as it directly impacts the effectiveness of the model. Then we do pre-processing of the data and gaining understanding of its characteristic and structures. Then we choosing the right model and train it. Once the model is trained,
it was killed in the revolution. And it was after this revolution.
Once the model is trained, it needs to be evaluated and deployed. Process involves continuous movement forward and backward between various steps. It allows for refinement, adjustment, and optimization at each stage, leading to more effective models. So machine learning algorithms at their core operate on numeric data. So feature is a numeric representation of a raw data. For example, we are trying to predict something about eBay customers. We can't put real people into algorithms. We should provide our model with their characteristics. And we should choose those that will help algorithm to answer our question. It might be static, like age, location, most used shopping categories, or dynamic, based on their behavior, like recent activity, did they change password, use a new location. Same we do, for example, when we are trying to classify files. We can use its size, type, what it does on other descriptions, how it behaves. So now I want to give you an example of basic supervised learning algorithm, even though the concept of it is very simple, that it's actually one of the most popular algorithms and used as a base to more advanced techniques. So a decision tree is a tree-like graph with nodes representing the place where we pick an attribute and ask a question, edges representing the answer to the question asked, and the leaves representing the actual output of class label. For example, with our file, we can ask, is it binary file or not? What size is it until we came to our answer. It's very simplified example, just to give you some idea how it looks like. So we can control how deep this tree will be, what parameters we choose next question, and how many leaves we will put in. So how can we improve the accuracy of the decision tree? We can use more of them. We can train each tree on just a sample of our data and make decisions based on the majority of votes. So we build all these trees, build them on different samples of the data, and then they vote, and it's called random forest. Another approach based on the principle of ensemble. Each new model is being trained to correct the errors made by previous ones. So those are gradient boosting techniques, and we use, for example, that in a way to identify phishing pages. So how do we use decision trees to fight against phishing that target our customers? So overall, just to give you an idea what phishing is a cybercriminal activity, often the first step towards account takeover, and it does lead to a loss of customers, reputation damage. Classic phishing attack when cybercriminal sets a phishing web page mimicking a brand, then sends phishing link covered with social engineering techniques to the customer. Customer receives the message and opens the link. Customer submits their personal information to the phishing web page, and cybercriminal receives customers' data. As raw data, we have HTML of the page and its URL. And our numeric representation of a given sample is set of structure, countable features such as number of inputs on a page, buttons, forms, links, domain ranking, number of subdomains, and sets of principal component analysis for each text and term-based vectors. So we build dictionary of most common phishing terms for each text session, like title, footer, class names. We train the gradient boosting model on thousands of samples of phishing pages, and then we use pre-trained model to detect phishing pages in incoming stream of suspicious URLs. So when we are getting a known web page, we process it to extract features the same way we did for our collection samples. We provide numeric vector to pre-trained model, and we get our prediction and process with actions. So this model, inside it, it's a gradient boosting model based on decision trees. So what are other popular use cases in cybersecurity for machine learning and AI? So another type of cybersecurity applications is anomaly detection. Anomaly detection is outlier detection, is the identification of the rare items, events, or observations which raise suspicions by different significantly from the major of the data. So this is an example of an univariate outlier. So here is a quite easy to spot an abnormal value because we have only one variable. In this case of two-dimensional data, it might be not possible to identify the outlier directly from investigating one variable at the time, but when we bring them together, the outlier is very obvious. It's getting even more complex when we have hundreds of variables describing the process, and only combination of them brings you some insights. So anomaly detection is very useful for network anomalies, credit card fraud, suspicious customer behavior. So there are many different approaches for anomaly detection. Technique will depend on the data you have and the task you are trying to solve. If you have known common patterns, you can start with static rules that can work along with the ML model. And if you have data, what type of anomalies are you trying to spot? Is your data balanced, autocorrelated, multivariate? So the most common version of anomaly detection is using the unsupervised approach. In there, we train a machine learning model to feed the normal behavior using an unlabeled dataset, assuming that the majority of the data in the training set are normal examples. So another useful case is processing large volumes of data with clusterization. So using clustering algorithms, we can go from an unbearable number of separate unknown files to a reasonable number of objects, groups, based on similarity of the objects. So parts of these object groups will be automatically processed based on the presence of an already annotated object inside it, or with an additional ML algorithm that we will compare samples to already classified ones. So this will help to reduce the amount of human annotations needed. So I saw the diagram on one ML talk and really liked it because it helps to set expectations. So machine learning not always can automate processes completely, but might be useful to get you in the right direction. So reduce the amount of data to process and provide useful information. Like in the network traffic, actual bad traffic is quite rare compared to the amount of data. But using ML and domain knowledge, you can highlight suspicious data. Just a bit about deep learning. It's a method in artificial intelligence that teaches computers to process data in a way that is inspired by the human brain. So deep learning models can recognize complex patterns in pictures, texts, sounds, and other data to produce accurate insights and predictions. A human brain has billions of neurons, and neurons are interconnected nerve cells in the human brain that are involved in processing and transmitting chemical and electrical signals. What is artificial neuron, so-called perceptron? An artificial neuron is a mathematical function based on a model of biological neurons, where each neuron takes inputs, weights them separately, sums them, and passes this sum through a nonlinear function to produce output. So a perceptron is an algorithm for supervised learning of binary classifiers, and this algorithm enables neurons to learn and process elements in the training set on one at a time. By connecting these perceptrons as neurons connect in our brain, we are getting deep learning neural networks. By building this network, we allow algorithms to solve more complex problems as our brains do. So here's basic example where we provide pixel numeric representation of the image and getting prediction on what is this picture represents. So how we use deep learning to protect, for example, eBay logotype. So presence of eBay logo on a page is one of the most convincing signals for customers that they are on legit website. Here you can see an image that is currently used on an original website, and as lots of phishing is being copied from the original website, it's commonly used phishing image as well. But some criminals are being creative, trying to avoid detection. So here you can see other examples of eBay logo from actual phishing pages. So our goal is to recognize them all. And I mentioned image classification before. We use it on our infrastructure And this helps us to understand the intent of our log usage. We identify if logo is presented on the image, what type of it, where it's placed on the image. So convolutional neural network extracts patterns from a given image and determine the category. A bit on generative AI. It's a huge topic. I will just briefly mention it today. So generative AI refers to deep learning models that can generate high quality text, images, and other content based on the data they were trained on. And big difference from classical machine learning tasks, not to predict or classify or cluster, but generate. So generative AI, as before that, I was giving you examples how you can use ML AI for protection and for cyber security. But also the thing is cyber criminals also using machine learning and AI to create those threats, and generative AI one of them. And for example, for phishing attacks, generative AI makes it's harder to spot. For example, makes misspellings, grammar errors harder to find because you can generate perfectly good phishing email even if you're not proficient in English, for example. Also, it's increased scalability. You can produce lots of different messages in seconds. And also, it's make harder to detect phishing and spam with classical detection technologies because some criminals now can rephrase the same message over and over again with completely different wording. So the meaning will stay the same, but the wording will be very different. So classical methods based on pattern detection will not work here. So overall, AI will increase the volume and impact of cyber attacks. And it's already in use by cyber criminals. It provides capability to uplift and make social engineering more efficient. Overall, why we also need to introduce AI into cybersecurity part, because to fight against cyber criminals and using AI without using AI is impossible. So overall, to conclude, a bit on boring side. So there are good news and bad news. Machine learning is not magic. It's just a technique that has its own limitations. Also, depending on the task, you should balance between some how to say it, to choose right measure, etc. So machine learning algorithms require large amounts of high quality data to train effectively, which can be difficult to obtain in some cases. If your data is bad, you will get bad results. So if you don't understand your data, how you expect model to understand it, so and provide answer. So you should understand it first. So ready solutions for most common problems with custom models, you always need to wait. Can you use something already existing, or you should build custom model for your problem? And as I always say, keep it simple. If it's just 1 + 1, you don't need machine learning. If something works with basic algorithm, you don't need advanced techniques. So it should be explainable, easy to interpret, easy to maintain, but also to fight cyber criminals, we should out-innovate them. So we should use those techniques if cyber criminals using them. So this is end of my overview presentation. So if you have any questions, we can now start them. I think I will stop sharing my screen.
All right, thank you very much, Nadia. That was such a great session. Like, I can say you took us on a whole roller coaster ride. I learned a lot. introduction to AI, machine learning, deep learning, and you used some really interesting, applications in cybersecurity, which was very intriguing. Anomaly detection, logo detection, and a bunch of other things. So I'm pretty sure people have questions. So please, you can drop your questions in the chat, or if you're comfortable with unmuting your mic and raising your hand and speaking, you can do that as well. But I have some questions from my end, and this is a shift now to just wanting to know what exactly you do, like working in cybersecurity, because people tend to just know three major job roles. It's either you're a penetration tester, you are a SOC analyst, or a GRC professional, right? But here we have others. We have security engineering, we have network security engineering, cloud security, and your role as a cybersecurity researcher. So can you tell us what that is about? Like, how does it work? What do you do?
Yeah, so I work in IT for almost 15 years, and mostly I'm into non-malware type of attacks like phishing, social engineering, creating accounts that act badly on platform, and detecting them. So I will say cybersecurity actually really broad industry, and to start with, you need to first find what you're more interested in. So yeah, my journey started mostly with content analysis, like phishing content, phishing emails, websites. So currently it's more like protecting our customers offsite platform. So cybercriminals targeting our customers, trying to pretend it's eBay website or something, and my responsibility to detect it and protect customer. So I find it very interesting, but yes, there are so many different roles in cybersecurity. So I guess every one of them is quite exciting. And overall, this industry is I guess, especially like AI and cybersecurity currently on the rise. So it's a journey to choose.
Yes, exactly. And I like how you mentioned that you need to know what you like, right? If you're getting in, because if you just say I want to be a cybersecurity professional, and you don't know what your niche is, right? Because there are technical and non-technical roles. I could say your role now is a mix of both, since you're analyzing phishing, phishing detection, those kind of things, and also just, researching about. So you can say it's a mix of both, right?
Yeah, I will say it's a mix, but yeah, so we have separate teams that more like protecting platform itself, and we protecting customers. But yeah, I think you can start with foundation, like any computer science education, and then start getting to know each of the paths and see what suits you more. Yeah.
Yes. And now that you mention it, brings to mind the fact that, okay, so at Microsoft, in the students community, we actually have a set of 12 lessons, I guess, that are on GitHub that give a proper introduction to cybersecurity. So if anyone in chat is interested, Samuel, could you do me a favor and bring that up? I can't seem to find it right now. So you can share in the chat. That's a very great resource to get into cybersecurity. I see some questions in the chat already, so let me mention the first one. The first one says, okay, hello, I'm a beginner in ML and AI, and I also find cybersecurity fascinating. Is it possible for me to combine the two fields without any issues, because I plan to combine the two in the future? What do you say, Nadia?
Definitely, it's what I'm doing, and I think right now AI in a race, and if you will have data skills, ML skills, and you go into cybersecurity field, I think you will be like, you have a good advantage because it's something that currently business wants to introduce more in this cybersecurity world. So definitely combining both skills are great, and you also will have some unique knowledge. So yeah, it will. I think it's a great path right now
All right. So basically, you're saying you'll be a catch, right?
Yeah.
You'd be, yes. Okay. So that's interesting. You're making this very tempting. I think I might leave my red team in and come for AI and cybersecurity. Next question is, okay, they want to have access to your slides. So that could be possible, right?
Yeah, I can. I need to check with my company first, and then we can post them if.
Of course, sure. That's something interesting that everyone needs to notice, right? So there's some information that you can't just share out of the whim, right? There's some personal information for your company, so you can't share that. You need to get permission. Another question is, hello, I'm new into tech. How easy is it getting into cybersecurity?
Oh, it's interesting question. I think it's not harder than any path in IT. It's more about like if you're passionate about it, it will be easier if you're really interested in cybersecurity, because otherwise, uh, it, yeah, I think it's not harder than any other path in IT. But if you're not interested in it, it will be hard because it's always evolving world. You always fighting against cyber criminals. You always need to be on top and wish to learn and develop yourself. So if there are no passion about this field, it will be really hard to stay in this field.
Yes, I totally agree. You need a lot of passion. And another thing is, it's very easy now, I would say. There are tons of resources available. And because of the different paths that are being brought to light pretty much every day, right? Technical and non-technical. So you could actually dabble in a number of them and find out what really suits you. So of course, passion is always going to motivate you nonetheless. All right. Another person is asking, resources that you'd recommend for someone that wants to start out in cybersecurity?
I think it depends on what background you currently have. So I will say that computer science will be a strong foundation. So coding skills, all of that. And then you can check some certifications in related cybersecurity to see which path you would like to choose. So you can try different things, and also then get into some communities related to cybersecurity, so it will give you more understanding what you would like to go through, and then some practical experience. So some hands-on practice could also help. So some labs, simulations, some hackathons, and of course joining maybe some company for internship. Yeah, but some courses you can find on any, I think, platform. There are tons of them. So yeah, get some base and then see what you would like to do more, and then search for those courses. So I think, yeah, it's a lot of information available right now. So
Yes, and I also want to do a bit of a shameless plug, if you don't mind me. So, of course, at Microsoft Learn, we have tons of resources. Like I mentioned, we have one that was recently uploaded on GitHub, like a 12 lesson introduction to cybersecurity. But if you want to go in depth, you want to see how Microsoft, uses these use cases, that some of the things you mentioned, like anomaly detection, logo detection, those kind of things are explained in detail in different Microsoft Learn modules and learning paths. So we can share that eventually with everyone. Yeah, we'll do that. Now, one question I even wanted to ask. I've been mentioning this logo detection a lot because that really struck something with me, right? So how does that work? Can you just give me a bit more explanation?
yeah, so it depends on a system, but here, yeah, we use convolutional neural networks to identify presence of logo on the image, and then also we have quite huge collection of different type of them. We try to identify what type of logo we have here. I don't think I can give you more in-depth details on technology, but I think there are quite a lot of examples of logo recognition projects on internet, so you can just try to replicate one of them. I think it's actually a good practice in any IT-related field to find some project and replicate it yourself. With logo detection, there are different techniques used for that, and you can find existing ready public projects on that and look inside how they work.
Okay, that sounds nice. I think I'll check that out. More questions coming in from the audience. So another person asks, how does one go about gathering data in machine learning? I'm pretty sure this is coming about because of you have a master's in data science, right? Could you give us a bit of info?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
Okay, how does one go about gathering data in machine learning?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So yeah, data is a crucial part of machine learning process. So if you have no data, probably you can't do any projects. So, and some companies hire data scientists expecting them to do some magic, but they have no data. So yeah, gathering data, it will depend on your use case. So for example, for recognizing phishing, we need to find lots of different examples of phishing targeting this brand, but also find and collect a huge amount of samples that represent clean samples that might look like phishing, but you don't want to detect them. So it should be something similar that you encounter into production. So overall, gathering data, it's I will say 80% of your work: gathering, cleaning, understanding, structuring. So there are different techniques for different tasks. So sometimes you need to scrap some data going around internet. Sometimes you need to collect some data inside your company, find where it's located, how you can restructure it, how it works, how it's being collected. So, but yeah, it's I will say main task you perform being data scientist.
Yeah, that's very intriguing. All right. Okay, burning question. Something that you mentioned that also struck me too was the fact that you said, do not overcomplicate things, right? If there's already something working that has been put in place, just work with that. But we also want to outdo the attackers, right? So that is where these new techniques and these new tools come into play. But now we have generative AI that is making it really complex to detect phishing attacks. So what do you do? Like, can you give us a bit of insight as to how we can work around that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so of course, don't use machine learning model where it's not needed because it's just overcomplicating things. If it's can be solved easy, just do that. But with generative AI, yeah, so those type of messages, you can use generative AI to find against hostile generative AI. For example, based on these embeddings that generative AI produce, you can clusterize those messages into one cluster, even they all rephrased and using different wording. You can see how those embeddings generated like product of generative AI models can cluster them out of normal mail activity. So it can be like you can use it to find against it as well. But yeah, definitely you need to outsmart cyber criminals. So sometimes simple solution doesn't work. But yeah, we always need to see how we can be at least one step ahead and to prevent those type of attacks. And generative AI definitely really in use right now in cybercrime.
Yeah, I like that. So you can actually use generative AI for and against a cause, right? So being one step ahead really helps. I think that's really important why we always mention if you want to get into this industry, you always have to be someone that's ready to learn and passionate about learning. Because, we have 0-day attacks that don't already have a certain fix. So if you don't know what these attackers are doing, then it will be very difficult for you to keep up the pace. Very nice point. Another question, the last one I'm seeing right now is, how can the collaboration between cybersecurity and fraud prevention be improved to effectively identify and resolve cyber threats that would eventually result into fraudulent activities?
I would say like fraud prevention is kind of part of cybersecurity. How it can be improved, it's always something to improve. And so right now, because I also passionate about AI, for me, like actually implementing those techniques, they help to scale this fraud prevention. So machine learning, it's also about scaling and helping. So for me, that's the key right now to make it more efficient.
Yes, I agree. There are more. Sorry, people just really want to learn from you. Okay, so another question here says, did you need to understand machine learning before going into cybersecurity?
No, it's like because there are a lot of pros in cybersecurity, and currently none of them imply that you know machine learning, but it will be your super skill if you also know machine learning. So, but you can learn it along the way. So don't think it's like mandatory right now to be a machine learning expert, to be in cybersecurity, but it will be definitely a huge advantage if you at least know some basics.
Yes, I can also add to that there are some skills that they're like must-haves, they are need-to-knows in the industry, and there are some that are like added advantages or can upskill you, to make your work more efficient. So machine learning, even programming, some certain languages, those are things that are like nice-to-haves, not must-haves. Okay.
But I will say it's not must-have right now, but in a few years, I think it will be hard to get in if you don't have programming skills, or at least some basic machine learning skills, because it's always evolving industry, and right now like email stuff in rise, so it definitely something to look into. But right now you need to start first with some base cybersecurity base.
Yes, so everyone keep up with the tide. Things can change, but for now, just focus on what's important. Another person would like to know more about anomaly detection. So what is that about?
So it's a technique that can be used for many use cases. One of them, for example, you look for anomalies in your network, so you can spot something is going wrong. So you have huge amount of data, and it will be impossible for human to go through all of that network activity and spot something, especially if there are a lot of features describing the process, and this anomaly will be spotted only like if you teach the model to spot complex patterns. Also, for example, it can be used for customer behavioral, like you have some usual customer activity on your platform, but you want to spot if something goes wrong. It might be some malicious activity or something else, so something not usual. So you have huge amount of data, huge amount of customers, they active every day, so you can just look manually into all this activity. You need some system that will spot anomalies for you, and one of techniques is machine learning techniques you can use to spot those anomalies.
All right. Okay, so I guess that's the end of the questions that we have for now. Let's see. I still have some questions. I want to skip over some that may not be as necessary right now. But for our audience, like we've mentioned, there are tons of resources. There are a lot of opportunities. Just have to figure out what is best for you in the industry. Don't get too overwhelmed because there are lots of resources, and there are some resources that you may not necessarily need currently, right? So it's best to be careful to sift through which is important for you right now. Um, uh,
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes I'm getting overwhelmed myself with the amount of information and what you can learn. So, yeah, don't worry too much and just start. Yeah.
yes. Okay, so any other person with questions? What I have here is a bit too technical and to take much of our time.
Yeah.
Okay, Samuel has. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
I just want to say thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you
Yeah,
too.
thank you very much. So I actually have a question. Yeah, and I was hoping you could I mean, I got your explanation of anomaly detection. So but I was hoping you could okay, though you already did, but then in terms of logo detection now, like a scenario or how the implementation might be, right? It's probably maybe would it be implementing it on for example, maybe an organization site to prevent phishing, or I'm trying to see how where scenarios where the logo detection would work to avoid, you um actually visiting a phishing site, and I mean maybe a phishing site and thinking is the actual one. So yeah, if you can.
Yeah, so for example, presence of logo on some web page is just one of the signs that this page might be phishing. So we can just look for logo use on internet and see if this use is malicious or not. So implementing some other models. So it's just one of the signals that we want to look at this page and see what are they doing with our logo.
Oh, okay. So it sort of flags the website or something.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So more on that, that would mean that you guys have like a data set that contains like different variations of your logos. I think you mentioned that there are different styles, different ways it's designed. So you can easily identify the one that has been a tiny bit manipulated, right?
Yeah, because cybercriminals also trying to avoid detection, so they kind of doing something similar to our logo, but not exactly. But yeah, we can detect all of them. So, and especially this is one of the signs that something is wrong because this logo was changed. Why? Yeah, so it's one of the signs of cybercriminal activity.
Interesting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're still waiting if there are more questions from the audience. Samuel has dropped the introductory lessons. Okay, so there are actually 7 lessons. There are other career paths that have 12 lessons. But this for cybersecurity is about 7 lessons that kickstarts your journey into it. So you can check it out. It's in the chat if you're interested in looking at that. But if we have no further questions, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you very much, Nadia. Like, you've broadened our horizons over here to a lot of different parts. This interesting part about cybersecurity research and AI, ML, the applications in security, and
Yeah,
how
sorry,
you
just
use that in
before
your
you
job.
go. Okay. Okay, so just before you go, I actually want you to maybe explain how what you do cuts across the red team. Is it do you guys sort of like maybe work separately, or there are some things you do that they will make use of, or there's some back and forth? Like just like me, for those that might be new to cybersecurity here, like to kind of know that okay, it's not only about pen testing or something, just an overview of how the workflow goes.
I think it's in cybersecurity, everything is a bit like banded together. So yeah, it's different teams, but we definitely work together and help each other, like with new knowledge in notifying each other about ongoing attacks or something. So I never worked in red team, but I find it very interesting, and I think it's a great path to choose, and always needed skills and penetration testing, etc. But they also using AI and ML as well. So this skill is very broad right now for each of teams in cybersec.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, I think then we can finish for the day.
Yes, yes. Okay. Any other questions, Samuel? Anything you want to say before we wrap up?
No, I'm good. Thank you very much, Nadia. That was really great, and I believe everyone on the call and those who will still watch the recording later on would benefit a lot from it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for inviting. Bye.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye. Bye. Thanks.
Good evening.
And yeah, and for those that are still behind, if you'd like to join the community, that is the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador community for University of Lagos, or if you're in a university outside of Lagos, we have pretty much communities in most of the major universities and polytechnics in the country and around the world. So you can message our Twitter or LinkedIn handles, or perhaps a person that posted the flyer, or someone that posted on LinkedIn or Twitter. You can probably message the person and then they would get you the community so you can work together and learn more about other things that we do. But thank you, Nadia, and enjoy the rest of your evening or day.
You too. Bye.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.